Yeah, yeah. Sure, I can read that. Well, good morning or afternoon or evening from wherever you're at. My name is Henry Dittmer, and I'm with Agile for All, and we're live streaming from Ag Leader today. And I have over here on my right Matt Leinen, who is the Director of Product Management, who's going to join us today for the conversation. Matt's been a client of, well, Ag Leader's been a client. Matt, in addition, has been a client of ours for some time in Agile and coaching. So we thought, well, we'll talk to a real client about what coaching is like and so forth. So
sounds great.
Matt, if you want to introduce yourself a little bit and talk about Ag Leader.
Yeah, as Henry said, my name is Matt Leinen. I've been with the company for quite a few years, since 2001. Ag Leader is a company that is in the ag technology space. We utilize high precision GPS and utilize it in the technology world. We're comprised of multiple software teams, hardware teams, and really are trying to revolutionize the ag world with technology.
Yeah. It's one of the things I really enjoy about being a consultant coach kind of thing is I get to see different industries and things that are doing. And I got to tell you, this one is one of the more surprises for me. Growing up in Kansas, I knew about farming, but then I got here at Ag Leader. It was like, wow.
Yeah.
we're figuring out. I mean, these guys are figuring out how far to put a seed into the ground, what's the right kind of fertilizer based upon down to what level.
Fertilizer, it can be based down to half a meter.
That's just
the really precise stuff. We try to steer like a tractor within an inch of the position it's supposed to be in. So the precision at which we go after is really intense.
Yeah, it's an incredible. And then you even use heuristics, right? So you gather yield from the crop and use that to feed back into the whole system to improve. Maybe you need to plant the seeds a little deeper here, or put a different kind of fertilizer here. Or...
Based off of the yield, we know in a specific area if it yielded really high, hey, next year we need to put more fertilizer there. Or we know certain situations where water isn't draining well in the soil, so we go help the water drain better. So anything to do to help the farmer more productive and obviously make more money and be better stewards of the land.
Yeah, very cool. Very, very, very cool stuff. It's interesting. Got to see a review yesterday where we turned on a tractor and watched the motors run. It was like, actually. So our history with Ag Leader, just a little bit more, is that Bob Hartman and I can't remember if it's been 3 years or 4 years ago, came out and did a training. Bob still remembers that training because it was about 150 people in the room, and there was a big curtain, a big barn, big curtain, and Bob and I stuck our heads around the curtain and these big machines back over there and so forth. In the intervening time, we've done some follow-up around Agile and Scrum discipline, right?
Yep.
But more recently, we've actually been doing coaching. So Matt himself has been a client of mine for some coaching. We've been doing coaching of the leadership. So let's talk about coaching real quickly and what we mean by that, because a lot of people have an idea of a coach being the whistleblowing person who comes in and calls the plays and tells people what to do and how to do it. That's not coaching in the context we're talking about. We're talking about professional coaching. And professional coaching is not going in and telling people what to do and how to do it. It's coming in and using something like a Socratic set of processes, a way of talking to people that gets them to go, oh, you know what? We should probably be doing this and we should probably be doing that. Which tends to have more meaning for the individuals who are involved and the teams that are involved. It tends to stick better. It was their idea, and so they're more likely to follow through on it. And it actually fits their context better, right? So if I come in and I say, you really should do this and this and this, and I don't know that there's some personal dynamic or some business constraint in there, I could actually break you, right? Whereas you guys know best what kind of constraints you have and what kind of situation you're in, what the environment is like, and so the solution is actually going to be more aligned with what you're dealing with day to day.
Yep.
So what was your expectation of coaching when we first started, and what did you experience?
Yeah. So maybe if I go back after we did the initial Agile training, I think it was 4 years ago. It might have been 4.5 years ago.
Yeah, it's been a while.
You and I had kind of randomly checked in with each other every 3 to 6 months. How the thing's going. You know, we'd have 30-minute conversations, and through that period, I can remember asking you about situations and hey, how should I handle this? How should I handle this? Not even Agile related, just employee related, work related, and whatnot. And through that, we started talking about coaching a little bit, and I thought to myself, man, I've been at the same company for going on 18 years, had the same boss pretty much that whole time, and through that, I thought, you know, I think Henry can really help me expand my leadership, expand my ability to positively affect the employees that report to me, and even the greater context of the employees within Ag Leaders. So my initial expectation, man, if I think back to that, again, I was well read up on leadership books and well read up on
very well read up on leadership books.
You know, everything that's out there, and yeah, I guess my initial expectation was, Henry, I know I want to get better, but I just don't know where to get better at. Can we work on? Can you evaluate where I'm at? We use some tools to see what other people perceived of me, and let's start identifying where I need to improve. So I was on a quest to get better as a leader and better as a boss for the employees that were around me.
Cool. Yeah. And that's actually one of the important things about coaching. You can't coach somebody who's not receptive to coaching,
yeah.
Right? So it's great when somebody says, hey, I'd like to get better, so can you help me, right?
Yeah.
That's ripe ground for coaching. When somebody goes, you know, I've had clients be offered to me where they're like, that person needs to be coached, right?
Yeah.
And they're not interested in that. You can do some inquiry and try to build a relationship, but ultimately the person who is going to coach has got to go, okay, I'm willing to run some experiments. I'm willing to try some things out.
Yeah. Yeah.
You also mentioned some tools. Another thing a coach does is that there's a whole set of different frameworks that are out there that help people make sense of how they're behaving or how they're perceived or how they interact. One of the ones that I love, most of us in Agile for All love, is the leadership circle profile, where we get that 360-degree feedback, and it tells us, you know, basically how are we being perceived as leaders against a framework that's been well researched, actually correlates with solid leadership, solid results, and so forth. So what was that like to see those results?
Humbling. You know, if I think through the circle, it confirmed things I knew. It confirmed areas where I knew I struggled. So there was a piece of, yep, I knew that was going to probably show up like that. And then it showed me stuff that I didn't want to see either. However, it puts it in front of you. And, you know, there was the piece of the leadership circle, because I had done other evaluations similar like that before. That's only a piece of it, though. To me, it was that, along with your coaching and really asking some open-ended questions and having me think about it and get back to it and be aware of it, so I could figure out through a period of time. I mean, we've been doing it for 6 months, so you know, there was no magical answer right away, but it's through a period of time where it progressed and helped me understand, oh, now I understand how I'm showing up in a meeting. Now I understand why these people perceive me this way. So, initially humbling, shows you some interesting things, but I think for me, that was key. It was key for a foundation to keep going back to.
Okay, cool. So besides for frameworks, and because we've done a bunch of different frameworks, because we've done MBTI, we've done LCP, Leadership Circle Profile, Myers-Briggs Type Indicators, MBTI.
Yeah.
We've talked about subject-object moves from the perspective of putting it out there and going, well, you know, what that really look like.
Yeah.
We've talked about immunity to change kind of things, right? Where we have some kind of a competing thing that's based upon some assumptions that are getting in the way of behavior changes. So we covered quite a ground in 6 months.
It always surprises me. I knew early on I better take notes because I knew I wasn't going to remember it all. And when I flip back through my notes now, I'm so surprised how many we've got. I mean,
Yeah.
how many I've got. I'm like, wow, I've got lots of stuff here that
So
I can go back to.
how has it impacted your work?
Yeah, I mean, I think for you and I, I can point back to a couple things, and the interesting thing is when we originally started it, I was not at this place at all. Um, but again, I was with my core team and the people that I worked with on a day-to-day basis. I had a really good relationship. It helped me identify that outside of that core team, my relationship isn't as strong with other people. So, with my day-to-day work, it's helped me um, be more intentional about building some authentic relationships with people outside of my core team.
Mm.
So at the end of the day, we can, be more effective, get more things done, and just have a fun time at work. Have better life.
Fun.
Yeah, fun, better life. Not controversial. So, if I look back at it, the main thing would be, hey, continue to focus on relationships even outside of your core team.
Oh, cool. Very cool. Cool. And I'm curious from a process perspective, what did you expect on a coaching call, and what did you actually experience?
Yeah, so I know early on I figured I thought it was going to be the leadership circle profile said this, MBTI says this. Well, Matt, here's your answer. Another thing I figured out was, wow, I know getting results and getting to an answer is definitely important, but I was way on the side of just get me to the answer. Let's speed to that answer right away. So I initially thought it would be, here's what it says, here's what the answer is. It wasn't that. It was, here's what it says, and the process really turned introspective on me to really say, Matt, quit worrying about all these external things. Where are you at? How are you showing up? How are you affecting it? So that process to me ended up turning introspective on me, and it was through the period of time and running some small experiments and evaluating, hey, this conversation went this way. If that was good, what did you do? If that was bad, what did that mean? So it was the continual trial and error, and then the Henry, here's what happened. Help me work through this.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the process was for me.
And what'd you hear from me all the time? What kinds of things did you? Not specific questions or whatever, but what could you expect on a call?
Well, first you were probably saying, Matt, you're trying to control too much.
Okay.
But after we got past that, because I realized, that was true. No, I mean on the call, you would definitely, first and foremost, you were always inquisitive. Hey, explain more, go a little bit deeper. I know a lot of them you were saying, hey, well, okay, in this situation, how were you really feeling? Mm-hmm. What was really going on the inside? You were pushing me to go deeper than just surface level answer that wasn't getting me where I needed to get anyways.
Mm-hmm. So this is an interesting thing about coaching. So going meta for a moment, right? When we coach, if I came in and had given you, hey, here's what the tool says, go change that behavior, right? Yeah. It's kind of questionable as to whether we would have had the fortitude to do it or if we would have stuck with it, right? Whereas when you do more of this, so tell me more about this, run this experiment, what did you learn, how did you do that, right? So this whole business of making inquiry, and then at times being a bit of a toughie, right?
Yeah.
So, hey, wait a minute. You really believe that, right? Tell me where that comes from, right?
Yeah.
Those kind of questions. So kind of holding your feet to the fire about the experience and what it was about and really beginning to own that, right? Yeah. And then every now and then sprinkled in with, well, look, Matt, in my experience, so now I'm not coaching, I'm actually mentoring, right?
Yeah.
But it's a dance. Here's my experience, this and this, but then immediately going back and saying, so what meaning can you take from that, right?
Yeah.
That actually creates a much more meaningful, most likely to follow through type of behavior change with people. And it's not only just with people. We can do this with teams. So, matter of fact, that's what we're currently doing with 3 teams here. We're doing mechanical design for you guys, right?
Correct. Yeah, it was similar. Yeah, similar type stuff with the mechanical design team. Back to the Agile piece of it. Ag Leader, 4 years ago, had made the transition to work, within the Agile process, Scrum framework, and that was on our software teams. Our mechanical teams had started to adapt that a little bit, and more recently, we'd asked Henry to come back in to help the mechanical teams make that transition. And I know specifically after the first training you did with the mechanical teams, the guys, I asked a couple of the guys, how's it going? And those guys overwhelmingly were like, oh, wow, this is completely different than we expected. This is so much better. The Agile framework and the flexibility that it gives you is just tremendous. So, that coaching that you're doing with those teams at this point, too, is tremendous.
Yeah. It's kind of like another way you can look at coaching is training and mentoring, where you're telling people what to do versus inquiry, right? And that dance between the two. When we initially started with the mechanical team, it was like, I think we need to make sure that we're all on the same page about content, right? So let's spend 2 half days and talk about that. But even in that content, we're asking questions, right? We're saying, do you believe that respecting people would make for a better place at work? Would it create better results? How would it do that, right? So even in that training, you're actually interjecting coaching in there that starts to get them to go, oh, that's, as opposed to coming in and saying, here's Scrum, here's the roles, go do these meetings. Good luck. I'm sure it'll work for you, right?
Yes.
Get that going.
Yeah.
Which actually leads us, we have one question online from Ratin that was asking, I'll put my old man glasses on here. What is the first thing that an Agile coach should do to start a new Scrum project? And in fact, I am a very strong believer that making sure there's clarity about what the principles and the values and what I call it, and how the framework fits that, but the framework isn't the answer. It really is the what and why. I mean, you were telling me the last time you had a bit of a
my epiphany. Henry was being inquisitive, and we were talking back and forth, and I said, he didn't even realize that he had done it to me, but we were talking about Agile, and we were talking about Scrum, and through that conversation, it had hit me kind of like a ton of bricks. I don't know if I showed it or not, but I either had it one time and lost it, or I never fully understood it. I had gotten to the point of where I thought the Scrum framework was Agile. And we were talking about some different struggles and some different things and, areas to improve and whatnot. And Henry was explaining to me, well, no, this is Agile. There's the principles of Agile that fit in the Scrum framework. And it was actually kind of a little bit of a weight that lifted off my shoulders to figure out, oh, okay, if we can continue to focus on the Agile principles and what Agile is, the framework just helps us, the Scrum framework just helps us support those principles.
Right.
So, that was good. Again, I don't, if I go back 4 years ago, did I have it 4 years ago and lost it? I don't know. But what I do know now is it's back at the forefront of my mind.
And that's actually kind of what's happening, I think, with the mechanical teams is that they went in initially doing Scrum prior to engaging us, right? And they were looking at it as a set of processes, right? Do this, do that, right?
Yeah.
And when they became more exposed to those principle level things, and then you start connecting that back again from a coaching perspective, where you're going, so how would the framework support that?
Yeah.
What are you doing that's working in that context, or what are you not doing that's working against that context? You all of a sudden get people going. It's always fun in these kind of training classes when you're actually coaching to watch the ahas happening in the room. You see people going, oh, wait a minute, right? We're just mechanically doing this and actually not truly really embodying it.
to be fair, we're such a heavy engineering organization.
Typically,
we like our processes.
So we do.
So if we can fit it into a process, that makes us feel good.
Yeah.
So
let's see. What else can we talk about here with regard to coaching?
about other people.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, for me, I'd started. You and I started the initial coaching engagement, and then I was actually sharing. I was sharing my experience with a few other coworkers, and those guys kind of looked at me and were like, "Man, I'd like some additional coaching too." So we engaged. Well, we've done a total of four or five people here.
Individuals, right?
Yeah, individual coaching. Specifically, I'm thinking about John.
Mm-hmm.
So John's 55 years old and has been in industry his whole life. Very high performer. I keep going back. I don't know if I've told you this. I keep going back to. He has told me multiple times that, man, why didn't I get this coaching 20 years ago? He's the type that. Deep thinker, a lot going on, and just the epiphanies that he's had too, which he ties it back to. And he's actually said Henry just knows how to ask the right questions. Similar type thing to me, that it was just a person that can be there for you, asking the right type of questions.
Yeah. So you want to know how I know to ask the right kind of questions?
Well, I'd love to.
Okay. So the way you do that as a coach is you absolutely are not wedded to what you think their answer is, which means you really have to put it off, right? Because there are times that you go, I'm a 60-year-old man, right? I'm like, I've been here, done that. He really needs to do this, right?
Yeah.
You can't do that as a coach, because then you start directing, you start actually, asking people to do things that they may or may not do, or that won't fit with their context, right? So you have to totally suspend whatever the answer you're going to get at, and then you got to go just totally curious, absolutely totally curious, right? So the questions come from, well, that's funny. Where did that come from, right? Or connect that with this. I'm a little confused about the connection there, right?
Yeah.
And it's fascinating to me. It's always an interesting surprise to me how often what I thought originally was the right answer for them was not the right answer for them. And when you see their eyes light up, because now they have the right answer for themselves, right? And so they attribute it to the question, right? And it actually is just their thinking, right? And it's just purely from you just get curious, right? Just get curious and totally unread.
You've challenged me to do that, and it's hard.
Yeah, it is.
How did you get yourself to that point?
Oh God, I struggle with it even now. It's so much built into our system to we work out of. We've talked about this business of our limbic system, right? We work 80% of our time, 90% of our time out of the limbic system, which is just pattern matching, which means we're looking for how would I do this, right? And so it's very hard to shut that down. It takes a tremendous amount of what we call energy from the more human side of the brain, that prefrontal cortex, to constantly be monitoring, shut down limbic system, shut down limbic system, right? So you just do have an internal dialogue, and you go, I shouldn't have. I'm trying to lead with the question. Stop it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. If you get curious enough, the client story just starts to capture you.
Yeah. That's interesting.
So it's just like curious, just constantly reframing my mind. That's curious. Where's that? Curious. And I was telling the mechanical teams the other day, I was talking to the Scrum Masters, because Scrum Masters actually coach as much as they do anything else, right? Facilitative leadership. And I told them, I said, you'll even hear me say in my question, I'm curious, right? I'm asking this question. I'm kind of curious, right? I will actually verbalize it, and it's my personal cue to stay in that place of inquiry, right? So it's one of the many little
things you do.
Things you do, right?
Yeah. Good.
Yeah. So it's been fun here at Ag Leader. We've had some really cool ahas. We got some we're still working on.
Yeah.
We got the mechanical teams running a whole bunch of experiments that they came up with, which is, again, another coaching thing, right? I could have come in and said, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this, and instead you simply say, how do you know that?
Correct.
How could you know that, right? And they're the ones designing the experiments, so they're more likely to follow through on the experiments than if I were to tell them.
Yeah.
So it'll be very interesting to see what happens next.
Yeah. Which I know, we're even going to re-engage some of the software guys, do some follow-up coaching.
Yeah, today we're going to do that as well. And that's I'm not sure what they're expecting. I think I do, because we got a couple of pings from people going, okay, he's going to come in and evaluate us.
Yeah.
And it's like, it'll be interesting to see, because if I was evaluating, I'm not coaching. Yeah,
which you've always been very attentive to that. Not coming in to evaluate, coming in to coach. Which has been, that's part of the reason I think why it's worked at Ag Leader.
I'm convinced that's why it works, period.
Yeah.
There was an old, I read someplace a long time ago that a coach really listens.
Yeah.
And the definition of listening is to listen without memory or intent. So memory, as in, I got my limbic system offline. I'm not pattern matching against my history and my expectations, and without intent, that I expect you to change this way or that you right. So it's that almost like this empty vessel that creates the opportunity for collaboration and stuff, creativity and stuff to happen.
Yeah, that's interesting. Huh.
Yeah.
Good.
So I think we are almost out of time. We got about 4 more minutes left, but I don't see anything else you want to say before we part here.
Oh, again, it's from the coaching standpoint. No, it's phenomenal. Trying to figure out where we go from here.
Yep.
I know from the Ag Leader standpoint, we are probably going to ask Henry to engage some additional people. So it's been great, and continue to look forward to growing from it.
And if you're interested more about coaching itself, there are all sorts of different books out there. I'd point you to Coach the Person, or Coach the Person, Not the Problem is a great book about mindset, or even a book literally called Coaching Mindset with this thing, because it really is a shift in thinking that I don't know something that Matt or others at Ag Leader don't know.
Yeah.
And so all I need to do is to train or inform you, or say, if you follow XYZ process, it'll work, right?
Yeah.
But really relying on the fact that you actually know that answer, and all I need to do is create the right kind of environment for that answer to come up.
Yeah.
And it's terribly rewarding as a coach. It's cool. I love it when Matt calls up and he goes, "I just had an epiphany," right? Or I hear, John will call up and he goes, "I can't." You'll hear people say things like, "I hear the question on my shoulder," right?
Yeah.
You leave that question with them, and that means they're working with it. That's cool stuff.
That makes me think of powerful questions. So you really challenged me with. It's the powerful question, Matt. You've got to start asking powerful questions. Quit leading with answers, and quit leading the guys from a manager standpoint, being people's bosses. That was actually one of the best things for me personally, was quit leading your guys down the rabbit hole that you want them to go, and open it up.
Cool.
And ask the powerful questions. So that makes me think of that.
What if, why, or how? Right?
Yeah.
Right. What if or how, or the easy ways. There's more advanced ways of doing powerful questions. But if you want to start, just start with, so what does that tell you?
Yeah.
What is that about? Where did that come from? Right.
Yeah.
What if you did this? What if we tried that? Right.
Yeah.
And then not being wedded to. They go, "No, I don't think that would work." You go, "Oh, great. What would work?
Yeah.
Right? Or how would you approach that?" All right. Those are good.
Yeah, that was great.
So,
that was great.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you spending the time.
Thanks for your time.
Doing this, and we hope this answers some questions for you. You know where to find us on Facebook, and we're at Agile for All, AGILEFORAL.com, if you want to reach out to us to hear more about coaching and how we might be able to help you out. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.